And Brian and his partner, his spouse, are running a tremendous business. So again, another small businessman, also native Iowan, grew up on a farm. He's making a run for the Iowa State House as well. And you know, if we work hard, oh God, I apologize, Iowa Senate. If we work hard, we can do this. You know, I can tell you, I had a Republican come in and get yard signs, I about fell over. I was pretty sure he wasn't a Democrat, and he wasn't. And he said they're crazy. So I like yard signs. Now, if there's one wanting yard sign, there's probably another 10. We just don't want to talk about it. So, you know, this might be our time, guys, to really kick some butt, get these guys elected, and then we don't have to grouse about what goes on in Des Moines because we can grouse at these guys when we need to vote. So, Brian, come on.
Thank you very much for having me out today. First, so on my other part-time job that I do, I'm the chair of the Clayton County Democrats, and so I just want to always give my dues to Karen and Ann for running the Democrats here. One of the things that, you know, we talk about how we don't have kings here, we don't have, you know, jobs for life or whatever, but if you become a party chair, they never let you leave it, so it's almost like being a king, except you get no benefits and all the work. So always give it up for county chairs there. So again, as Ann said, and they get to eat last too, so I appreciate that too. As Ann was saying, in my real job, I run Cher's restaurant, and I'm back in the kitchen. So that's a lot of my time is spent yelling at the stove or the grill for not cooking fast enough. So I'm not as comfortable talking in front of people as Ian is. He's in front of students all day. So pardon any of my flubs here, but. In the same sort of way, I always eat last. So that's it's very much an honor today to be able to eat first. That's a rare occurrence for me. But so I moved. I'm originally from New Hampshire, Iowa. I grew up on a farm there. My parents did a family farm like the way we remember family farms. So they raised cattle and pigs, and they had row crops, and they had alfalfa, and they had oats, and they had all these things that were rotating and working in together because we used the things that we grew to feed the animals that we had. And we used the land that we had, that's the animals were out of the land. It was very much that idea when people think of family farms in Iowa, that's the idea they have. But as many of you know going around, that kind of family farm doesn't exist anymore. Or if it is, it's very much in danger. Because we've allowed in this state corporate agriculture to completely take over our system. And now, like, there are family farms that are still out there, but think about how they work. They're squeezed on both sides of it. All of their inputs are controlled by large corporations, by Monsanto, by Pioneer, by the fertilizer companies, by all of these things on one side of it. So they have to pay these monopoly prices on one side for their inputs. So they grow the grain and everything, they grow the hogs, they do all that. And when they go to sell it, they're once again up against corporations. They're up against Smithfield or Tyson or any of these places which also control the prices on the outside. And the farmer in Iowa, the family farm that we think of, is squeezed in the middle. And why did that happen? Why was that allowed to happen? It's because the Republican control of the Iowa government in the last 15 years has allowed it to happen. They have allowed farmers to be the victims of corporate greed. And it's been that way for a long time. But you know, in the end, it's not just farmers who are suffering from that, because we are too, people who are not farmers. Iowa has the worst surface water quality in the United States. We are worse than anywhere else. We have rising rates of cancer. We are the only state in the United States which has a higher rising incidence rate of cancer. That means more people are diagnosed with cancer every year. We're the second highest overall rate of cancer in the United States. We know, when I was growing up, we always heard about cancer. Like, that's not a thing. Like, as you're a state with an older population, cancer is a disease of older folks usually. But now it's not anymore. Now it's young people getting cancer. Now it's people like Sarah getting cancer in their 40s. It's people, children getting cancer. It's getting cancers that you don't hear about often, like bladder cancer. Those are cancers of disease, those are pollution-borne cancers. And what has the legislature done to fix it? They've made it easier for corporations to get away with it. They passed a law that prevents Iowans from suing chemical companies for cancers caused by their products. Mike Clemish voted for that. That was a bill, a signature bill of his. My opponent, Mike Clemish. Mike Clemish also voted for the bill, actually not just voted for it, he was the floor manager for the bill that took away local control from counties and towns. Here's how it works. When a county gets together and let's say they don't want to have fireworks sales in their town, which is, if a town doesn't want to do it, they should be able to make that decision. That's the idea of local government, is it not? Mike Clemish passed a law that says they can't do that. You as a local town are subject to the state rule. It's the same with CAPOs and those other things. They have taken away our power as individuals to control what is happening in our communities and given it to the state and the governor. This is supposedly the party of small government, but it's not. It is a party of government control over every aspect of your life. And it's not just in the environment. Republicans love regulations, or they love to hate regulations, except regulations on your body and your homes. They say what you as a woman can do with your body. They say what you as a parent, what your kid can read in schools. They say to teachers what you can do for curriculum. They control the curriculum. People who have never spent a day in the classroom are telling teachers what they can teach in history. That is crazy. It is such a failure of us, our politicians, on us as a state, because when I was growing up, we were the #1 state in the country for education.
Yeah.
Consistently so. It was taken for granted that we had the best schools. And where are we now? Middle of the pack. And how do they fix that problem? By underfunding our public schools. 2.5% increase in funding when you have 5 to 10% inflation is a cut. Don't let them tell you otherwise. It is a cut. And you know this too. You go to the grocery store, you know your $20 doesn't go very far anymore. The schools are buying the same things. Buying those same food. But it's also with those voucher bills. The voucher bills have been a very big success for private schools in Des Moines, in Cedar Rapids, and Dubuque, and not for us here in this district. This data just came out. I just saw it this morning here. I wanted to share with you. In the last 2 years since the voucher bill has come in, 36 private schools have opened in the state of Iowa, and 16 public schools have closed. Now, this data is not complete. This is self-reported data from schools. The reporter who did this, broke this story, asked the governor for comment, and they're refusing to give the actual data. Because the governor does not feel that she is accountable to voters. Because she doesn't care. See, that's the thing. She doesn't care about voters. She cares about private contractors and all the out-of-state consultants that she hires to run all these programs, who get the millions and millions of dollars to run this private school voucher program. I don't know if you heard that. The cost of the private school vouchers this year is twice as high as what they budgeted for. This is not money that is going to schools. This is money that's going to an out-of-state contractor in New York State. That's your tax dollars going there. You know, I'd much rather see those tax dollars spent in Allamakee County building affordable housing in Lansing for the workers that are there. Because you know what, I've talked to people in Lansing, and one of their biggest problems is that the people who are working for those service jobs, they can't live anywhere in Lansing. Because half of the places that are there are owned by people who are running Airbnbs, and the other, there's just not housing available. So see, that's how you invest in communities. That's how you invest in local communities, is you create partnerships with these local communities to build services and facilities that benefit all the residents of those communities. And that's low-cost housing, that is safe and affordable, that is child care for those same workers. Because in the end, our small town economies are dependent on those workers. The other thing that I will mention about what they're doing as well is that my sister is a school teacher. She has taught in Boone, which is right by Ames, for nearly 25 years. She loves that job. She's always wanted to be a teacher. She went to Iowa State to do that. She did her student teaching in that area in Iowa. She went back to get her master's degree in curriculum. She worked for the district to work with curriculum studies there, went back to teaching. All these things, she's still there. She can't wait to retire because she's afraid of what's going to happen next with the schools. And we can't depend that, so supposedly this upcoming session is going to be the energy session. They're going to work all of Iowa's energy issues they're going to work through. But we can't depend on them not to attack students again. There are about 300 trans students in Iowa. 300 trans students in the entire state of Iowa with a population of 3.2 million. They passed 3 or 4 or 5 laws specifically targeting those students. Is that doing the work for you? Is that making your life better? Is that fixing any of the problems there? Is it fixing the water quality? Is it helping people with private wells make sure that their wells are not contaminated with nitrates? It's not. It's not doing any of those things. They're doing it so they can have another check off the ALEC legislation list. We deserve better than that. I remember growing up in Iowa that, the funny thing is, I don't even remember politics in Iowa really when I was growing up. Do you know why? Because it wasn't in the front of everybody's mind. Because we were neighbors first. We were members of a community. We need to get back to that. Because you know what? Being in a small town in Decatur for the last 18 years, I have really grown to appreciate how intertwined we are in a small community. My success as a restaurant is dependent on the coffee shop that's down the street. It's dependent on the bed and breakfast that's there. It's dependent on the recreational activities that are there. It is dependent on the health of everyone else in the community. Because you can't go it alone in a small town. We all know this. If a school shuts down in a small town, there's no quicker way to kill that town. We've all seen it happen. If the East Allamakee school shuts down, that is going to be detrimental to all of those communities that it's in. And you know who one of the biggest employers in a small town is? The school system. Those are good jobs with good benefits. It's not just the students who are going to suffer. It's the people who work there and the communities in general. We need a broader view of what is possible in the state of Iowa. And so that is my commitment as a candidate here, because I chose to live here. I lived in Boston for 12 years where I went to college, and I chose to come back because I love it here. Because this is one of the most beautiful parts in the entire country. And so much is possible here. When we were driving up, we drove up River Road from Decatur, up from Marquette. And you see all the bluffs there. And the road that somehow winds through these crazy, crazy big bluffs. And you come to realize a private company never would have done that. An individual couldn't have done that. It takes the collective effort of a government who cares about its people to put that road in there and connect our communities. We need that connection back. And so that is my commitment. There are a couple of things that I'm really committed on. I'm committed on rolling back those school vouchers and that ridiculous restriction of AEA, which absolutely nobody wanted except an out-of-state contractor. And that's already affecting people. Over 400 people left the AA system and got to better, more secure jobs. And I was talking to a person, she's an audiologist for Keystone AA. And it used to be when a student had hearing issues, they would test the siblings. Because that makes sense, obviously, that sometimes those issues run to the family. There's no funding for that anymore. They cannot. They can only focus on the individual ones. The other thing that they are talking about is, so there is shared media in the AAs. So individual schools get media around and it's a big pot. It looks like Dubuque is going to pull out of that this next year. Dubuque is the largest school district in AZA. All that money is going to go away for that program. And probably if Dubuque leaves, Decorah will leave too. And so that leaves the rest of these smaller school districts fighting for the scraps with that pool of money. And so all of a sudden, our students are going to have a less enriching experience with that program. I mean, the whole idea of AEAs was to make rural schools stronger. Do you know who's benefiting from those? The large school districts in Cedar Rapids and Des Moines. The largest school district in Cedar Rapids is set to gain over $1 million from not having to participate in AA. It's great when you're in a big school and you have unlimited property taxes, but that's not us. We need someone who fights for us too. For us too, because we live here too. The other thing that I am absolutely committed to is to put forth a constitutional amendment along with Chuck Eisenhart to guarantee our constitutional right to clean water and air. Here's why this is important. Right now, we are dependent, on our legislators to take up this issue. But if there's a constitutional amendment guaranteeing our rights, we as individual citizens can take these issues to the court system and try to get justice ourselves. We do not have to depend on our state legislators who are completely bought out by Farm Bureau on both sides, let's be honest, to reduce regulations there. And again, this is not an attack on farmers. If we actually enforce the existing legislation, the existing laws that are on the books, it would help the problem already. But we don't even do that. We give an $8,000 fine for a complete fish kill in a creek for negligence of a fertilizer spill. We allow the big confinement cattle lot in Monona to keep going forward. They never filed the permits correctly. They never met all of these deadlines. They've been marked up time and time again by the DNR. Didn't stop them. Didn't even slow them down. They wrote a check for the $20,000 in their fines out of a $10 million operation, which that's like finding a 20 in your pocket, It doesn't even count. And they can keep going. I'm also 100% committed to getting rid of Iowa's 6-week abortion ban. And just a little bit on this, and obviously, I'm not the person to speak on the importance of this. I'm not a woman, I'm not a person who can get pregnant, but I talk to a lot of these people and hear about these issues. And here's a couple of things that I just want to point out. At 6 weeks, which is one of the strictest abortion bans in the country, most people have no idea that they're pregnant. People have erratic periods. Some people do not go on the 28-day cycle. That's the average. So you may never know until much later than that. And if you're a child who's been abused and is 12 years old and not even familiar with any of the cycles of your body, there's no way that you would know. Absolutely not. The other thing is that it also affects older people too. Because there are procedures that are used during abortion that older women use as well to help with menopause and excessive bleeding during those stages. This is something I just learned. Like I said, I'm not a professional on this, but it affects everybody. And the other thing I will point out, Iowa has the worst rate per capita of OBGYN professionals. These are people who deal with maternal health care and women's bodies in general. We have the worst rate, and it's going to get worse because nobody wants to come here. Our college, our University of Iowa Medical School, has long been one of the best medical schools in the nation. But we don't treat that, we don't do those kind of studies anymore because we can't. We can't really do women's health care in a way that it takes the entire woman's body and health into consideration. It is just another way that Republicans have failed our state. Because here's the thing. In the last 18 years, I've seen the quality of life deteriorate here. We've gotten dirtier and meaner and less free as we've been here. And Republicans have been in control of the government the last 12 years, complete control. So it is vital who we send to Des Moines. It is vital who we vote for this election season. So first and foremost, what I have a couple of asks for you. I need every single one of you on Wednesday to show up at your county courthouse and vote. Because if you vote now, all the volunteers that Ian was asking for, the volunteers that I'm going to ask for, we don't have to call you again. And then you're able to go and help get other people to vote. It is vital to vote early. It is the Democrats' secret weapon. And it always has been. Because a vote that's already cast is a vote we don't have to chase. Second of all, I need you to talk to your friends and neighbors about the issues that matter to you. And let them know how dangerous some of these things are. I think a lot of men probably don't know that abortion health care affects women of all ages. I think that a lot of men don't realize that it is nearly impossible to find an OBGYN in a rural area. I think a lot of men don't realize that it is impossible to even have a baby at a hospital in a rural area. Most of them don't exist anymore. Because we have let that deteriorate. And finally, I just want to close with a thank you to all of you people who have shown up here, to this event, and to all the other events that I've been to. So Sarah and I have been doing the tour circuit the last couple of days. I think if this doesn't work out, we're just going to keep going on the road.
Yeah, yeah. Would pay us to do that? Right?
We're doing that. But the energy of Democrats has been really something amazing to watch. We were in Decorah last Sunday, and they had almost 200 people show up to their event. And they said the event the year before, there was like maybe 40.
20.
There is 20?
20.
Oh.
I was there.
So there is energy out there, but we need to keep that energy going. And it is so short, the amount of time before Election Day. It is so short, it's going to flash in a second. So anything you can do to keep that energy up and to encourage other people to turn out and vote, and to vote for the issues that really affect small towns. And I'll tell you what, Mike Clemish doesn't care about any of those ideas. He cares about being a legislator. He studied political science in school. He was the mayor of Spillville. He's running because that's the next thing for him to do. Because that's all he cares about. He just likes to be in Des Moines and wear a suit and to play dress up. I don't care about going to Des Moines. I care about representing you. The people in this room and the people throughout this district. Because there are a lot of issues that need being addressed. And you know what? I am used to being the loud person in the room, making my voice heard and standing up for people. I've done that for a long time. So in high school, I'm almost done, I swear to God. I usually don't go on this long, but I'm on a roll. You guys are inspiring. In high school, I was the editor of my newspaper, high school newspaper. And we did a story on the double standard between slut versus stud.
Yeah.
About how if a woman is sexually active, she's looked down upon, but if a man is, then he's elevated as a hero. Oh my God, the blowback was intense. Not from any of the kids, mind you, not even his parents. A lot of, because this was published in our local town newspaper. We got called into the principal's office. We had to get, our advisor had to make sure that we didn't say anything controversial in the future. But you know what? That was an important issue to talk about. It was an important issue to talk about, and just because it's hard doesn't mean it doesn't need to be done. And so that is where this campaign is. Just because these issues are hard to deal with doesn't mean we don't need to do them. So again, thank you very much for your time.
Because, I'm 67, I'm old. I marched in my first pro-choice march in Indianapolis in 1984. And who would think 40 years later, we'd be doing the same damn thing. I mean, are you kidding me? And people think, oh, in our small town, it can't happen here. I was principal at the walk-on schools for 25 years. I had a 5th grade girl bring me her ultrasound. You know why she brought it to me? Because her mom didn't want anyone to know. And she knew she needed to come to people who loved her and would care for her. And now, the way the law is, she would not have been able to have that abortion. And I had that discussion, actually I've had that discussion with all of our representatives in Des Moines who could really just give a shit, to be honest. And they thought, well, it's fine she gets an abortion, but we don't want Medicaid to pay for it. Well, you know what? That child had been living in a situation, you can call it abuse, you can call it whatever you want, I call it rape. And it had been going on, and we'd been making reports to Human Services, and it wasn't getting addressed. And there we were. And she comes to the people who love her at school to take care of this. So when people say, oh, we live in this little, you know what goes on in every community goes on in our community. And it is time, finally, to just say, are you kidding me? Just because you don't have a uterus doesn't mean it doesn't apply to you too. You gotta help and you gotta do the job. It's exhausting to be this off all the time. So, there you go, Sarah. We're so glad you're here.
All right. You ready? Okay. I thought I better wake everybody up. That was the song Freedom by Beyonce, right?
Yeah.
Kamala Harris got to use on her ad, and